my groovy friends? We're back again for one last foray into commune cooking from the 1970s. And last week we had looked at Country Commune Cooking by Lucy Horton, and the recipe was kind of a toss-up for us. We liked half of it and hated the other half. So we're gonna give this cookbook one more chance. I've picked 2 recipes out of it, and we're going to go on the other side of hippie cooking, which is vegetarian. So we're going to be looking at what looks to be and what sounds like a really good lentil loaf with a really cool sauce that you put on top of it. And then we're going to use this big giant rutabaga as a side dish to it. So let's keep our fingers crossed that this time the cookbook recipes are gonna blow us away. We'll do our taste test, and of course we'll give our final verdict as to whether you guys should pick this cookbook up or not. So let's go ahead, flip this camera around, talk a little bit about the communes that I got these recipes from, and then we'll do our taste test.
And as usual, what you will need and exactly how to make these recipes will be in the description box below. The lentil loaf recipe is taken from Prairie Dog Village, a commune that was located in California. And the other recipe, the rutabaga and apples, is actually from an unnamed New England commune. Now, I couldn't find anything about Prairie Dog Village on the internet, so I'm assuming that particular commune was disbanded a long time ago. But we do have several stories from Lucy about Prairie Dog Village in the cookbook, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of those. This is a description from the first time she actually saw the commune. Quote, Prairie Dog Village, one of the most charming communes I visited, occupied a defunct lumbering town in the redwood country of Northern California. Members lived in the original sprawling houses, with interior partitions removed to create great spaces. A stream ran through the property in a deep wooded glade. Over it had been built a tea house, a sort of tree house open on all sides, with a hibachi on which to brew the tea. Even the floor of this airy little structure was open in the center, so you could look straight down into the brook. When you were alone there, the tinkling waters lulled you into a meditative trance. Oh wow, you really came to the right place, Debbie told me when I arrived. We're really into food here. Everyone took turns cooking in pairs, and worthwhile inventions were written down, unquote. It's a shame this place no longer exists, because it sounds like it would have been a wonderful place to visit. And the tea house over a brook sounds like a really fun way to film a tea time video. And now as for the lentil loaf itself, this recipe doesn't have a very long introduction, but Lucy does state that it was given to her by a man named Tony, and she says, quote, a free use of garlic is one of the characteristics of commune cooking. Garlic is believed to have antibiotic properties, which would tend to explain the widespread ancient custom of wearing a clove of garlic to ward off the evil eye. And that's all that Lucy has to say about Prairie Dog Village. But if you're sad that you can't go visit it in California, the happy news is there are still communes that are going on in California that you can visit today. There's still an intentional community called Black Bear Ranch in Northern California, about 25 miles from Forks of Salmon. It was founded in 1968 and had some pretty wild ups and downs in its history. At first, they took a no-rules approach to their living situation, but that kind of broke down when they realized that no one would cook, no one would clean, and they pretty much just sat around all day doing nothing. They did institute one interesting rule. They decided that you could no longer be in a monogamous relationship, and you were banned from staying with the same partner for more than 2 consecutive nights. This had some fairly obvious disastrous consequences, and that particular rule was abandoned fairly quickly. In spite of some of these hardships, they actually survived until today. They do now have a set of traditional guidelines in which they try to ensure, quote, the continued existence of Black Bear Ranch and its tradition of communal living in a way that cares for and nourishes each other and the environment. And now you have the choice of another commune called the Cauliflower Commune with a K, or the Friends of Perfection Commune that was founded in San Francisco in 1967. They were instrumental in creating the hippie culture that came out of the Haight-Ashbury area of San Francisco, and they practiced a form of communalism and cooperation, which meant that members were encouraged to give their money to the group, and also to quit their jobs and work for the community instead. According to their Wikipedia page, these tasks included gardening, cleaning, cooking, running the print shop, maintaining the store, and delivering newsletters. They also practiced a form of polyamory, and members participated in what was considered to be a group marriage. Through some of their programs like the Free Food Conspiracy, they pushed co-op food markets to the forefront of American culture, and also made popular community gardens and farmers markets. And now as for the rutabagas and apples recipe, Lucy did not give the exact name of the commune, but she did give a little backstory about the person who gave it to her. Quote, "The 19-year-old girl who gave me this recipe at a New England commune was very beautiful. Her face had a medieval quality, with a high rounded forehead and dark hair gathered demurely back, while curly locks fell around her cheeks. Lithe, affectionate, expressing a self-delighted vitality in every movement, she was by far the most playful spirit in this collective of hard-working, policy-oriented idealists. A Brooklyn childhood had made her a hustler at 17. Then 2 years ago she came up to the nearby college town with some men for the weekend. She met one of the commune's founders and began living with him. He's gone now, but she is very much part of the family, and her baby by him has 8 enthusiastic parents. So totally is she acclimated that except for her unmistakable Brooklyn accent, you'd think she'd always been a country girl," unquote. And now that our food is done, let's go ahead, plate this up, and give it a taste test.
Okay. I think maybe I should have let you pick again this week. Because I don't know if I really did that good of a job. I will say that this lentil loaf smells exactly like the health food store that I used to work in.
Is that a good thing?
I don't know. I got tired of the smell after a while.
I don't think it smells bad. I think
No.
I think the overall smell is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it doesn't smell bad. It just it brought back a lot of memories.
Oh, okay.
It tastes like the health food store too that I used to work in.
I don't think it's bad.
When we would cook food, it just tastes like everything I've ever eaten from that store.
Yeah, I mean it's basically what I expect. There's nothing like super surprising there, but it's not like I don't not like it. You know what I mean? Like it's something I could eat again, though. I mean, for just the two of us, it's a lot. I'm
gonna try an experiment. Let's do this and then try. There was no salt and pepper in this dish. Let's just try a little bit to see.
See if the salt helps.
Yeah, I was a little surprised it didn't have salt and pepper, actually. Okay.
That definitely opened it up a little bit.
Yeah, you really should definitely add salt if you're gonna make this.
Right.
Now let's try
This one's scary.
this. Yeah, not really sure what to make out of this one.
Not sure what to expect. I have no...
Surprisingly, I think I might like this a little better than the lentil loaf.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's just because really all this is, I think it just needs the salt.
Yeah, I think that could use some salt too.
Yeah. But I did actually put salt in this and not,
Okay.
So I can taste a little bit more flavor out of this one.
Right. This one, I actually, because of the apple, I expected it to be sweet, and it's really not.
No.
Like, you can barely tell there's any apple in it. I noticed, like, the recipe also said, like, the original recipe had, like, honey in it and nutmeg and some of that.
And cinnamon. I was going to mention that because Lucy Horton took the original recipe and then said she got to this point and she was like, oh, I just felt like it was tasty enough without the other stuff, and so I left it out. You may disagree, but she doesn't give, like,
the
quantities or anything like that about, what that other person did.
So she just says, like, honey, nutmeg, and cinnamon.
Right, and so it should have, I think it would actually benefit.
I do.
From having those in there.
I think it would add a little bit more flavor. First I was like, depending on the apple ratio, you could decide that it's sweet enough without sugar or without the honey or the cinnamon or anything like that. But, like, I think it would actually do it a favor. Like, give it a little bit more rounded
I do too. I'm not really sure why. Okay, I think... I had a lot of trouble with these recipes. They just weren't flowing for me very well today, and part of it was me, and part of it was just, I think, some of the little things of how it was written and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and say what we do like about this cookbook, and then I'll tell you what I don't like.
Okay.
I do love the idea of this cookbook.
Right. The variety of different ideas, things you probably haven't tried.
Yeah, well, I mean, and even just like the idea of someone hitchhiking across America in the 70s and Canada and collecting a bunch of commune recipes.
Right.
I think that's a fantastic idea. You could say that this is a little piece of hippie history that you are never going to get again.
Right.
A lot of these communes do not exist anymore.
Right.
So, some of these people have obviously passed away. It's been, a long time. So,
for the historical value.
Yeah, there's that.
And slice of time in American history.
Yeah. And I love the stories. Yeah. She does put a really cool story in front of every single recipe and tells exactly where she got it from and who gave it to her.
Right.
I like that. The stories are what make this cookbook, right? Now, this is kind of a neutral thing for me, but I do want you to be aware for some people that this might be very bothersome or triggering. There are a few little swear words in here, like some of the people that are telling the stories. And there's a lot of reference to smoking weed.
Okay.
There's because
that's coming back around, so maybe
I know. I mean, for a lot of people, like I said, I'm just going to leave that as a neutral thing, just because for some people it's not going to be bothersome, and for some people that can be really bothersome. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. It'll be, it's kind of like the first cookbook we did.
Right.
But it was the 70s. It was communes.
Yeah, you're not going to get a 70s commune without drug references.
Most of them, exactly. I mean, there's even some reference to some LSD in here, and stuff like that. So, it is what it is on that one. But, I'll let you guys be the judge on that one. But let's kind of go into what we didn't like. Yeah. Now, last week you saw us struggling with the crust from where, and it was just bad.
It was
Now I looked on, Googled it, and turned out the ratios were wrong.
Yeah.
So that was that was this recipe's fault.
Right.
But there are good masa crusts out there, which I linked. So we know it can be done. It just was not done in this cookbook.
Right.
In terms of these particular recipes, she only puts 2 tablespoons of water to steam your rutabagas and your apples. No.
Yeah, you're gonna burn it.
How many times did I come into the kitchen
have to
add more water? And I had my heat on low to steam. So it could be a difference between my oven and her oven however many years ago.
Elevation. No, I don't know.
I don't know, but please, if you make this, put more water in it. I started out with a 1/4 cup.
Yeah.
And then I had to keep adding 1/4 cups.
Right.
So just really keep your eye on it. In terms of the lentil loaf,
similar?
I didn't really get a whole lot of. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beans, I did end up adding more water to them halfway through cooking.
Right.
So the 4 cups, like
Probably
I said, I don't know if it was just differences in ovens over 50 years ago. I don't know.
I was kind of joking when I said elevation, but it can be an elevation.
I mean, it could be. Yeah. I have no idea what. But that's something you really have to keep in mind because you're going to scorch your beans and you're going to scorch your rutabagas if you don't really keep an eye on it.
Right.
I think the omission of salt and pepper, it could have been a Commune thing. There are some people who really vilified salt and pepper during that time period, and I've I've worked with people in the health food service industry that also vilified salt and pepper. So that could be a personal choice of that Commune.
Right.
But I am going to say it's bland and it's not really that appetizing if you don't add the salt and pepper to it.
Now with it, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's better.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. So another caveat. It's time consuming.
Oh, yeah.
All these recipes, I've picked 3 so far. All of them have been time consuming and caused me a ton of dishes to have to get done. Lots of separate pots and pans, that kind of thing. So if you're coming home from work, you're not going to do this.
Right.
I guess maybe if you're like in lockdown, you're in quarantine and you got some time. Yeah, I mean, you could probably experiment with these. I think you're going to need to be a little bit more of an experienced cook to try to translate these recipes and figure out, oh, wait a minute, that's kind of not right. I don't think that's going to work. So this, I think, would be a nightmare for a beginning cook.
Oh, yeah, for a beginner cook.
Yeah, nightmare. Because you're going to blame yourself if it goes wrong, and it's not your fault. No. It's the cookbook's fault, believe me.
I would say it's great for interesting ideas, because a lot of this is stuff that I would have never thought to put together.
No,
That being said, it's almost like you have to have enough fundamental knowledge of how most of this stuff would have actually, it's almost like you could use it for an idea or something and then find a better recipe for it somewhere else.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to leave it with this. I don't think I'm going to give this cookbook a star rating. I think I'm just going to leave it up to you guys how you want to, if it's an interesting cookbook enough that you want to pick it up. I just paid a few dollars, so I'm not mad that I bought it because I like the stories in it. And like you said, I like the ideas in it. And it's a really fun look into a time period we're never ever going to get again. Right. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it with that. If you really, really love hippie history in the 1970s, and you want to see what were they saying what were some of their stories, and what were they eating, then I think
it'd be worth a pickup for that.
For a few dollars on eBay, that you're gonna have fun with it.
Right, if you can find it at a decent enough price. And the biggest caveat though is like for a cookbook.
Right.
You can't hardly cook out of it.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to
We've been kind of disappointed all 3 recipes. And isn't that so weird? Okay, so out of the 3 hippie cookbooks we tried, this is the one I had the highest hopes for. And this is the one that disappointed me the most. So I would say the carob brownies was... and the soy burgers.
Yeah.
That cookbook was really good. This one, I don't know.
Right.
You know, it's a toss-up. It's whatever you want. So yeah,
there we go.
Man,
yeah.
So weird. Okay, but hey, you never know when you're looking at historical cookbooks. You really have no idea which direction it's going to go. So that leads us into what's the next direction we're going to go into. And we spent a month in peace and love and hippies, and we're gonna go to war next month. So specifically World War II. And we're gonna be looking at rationing and what that meant for cooks in their kitchen and how they were gonna feed their family from a ration book and giving out the little stamps and trying to get all the foods that was really scarce during wartime years. Right. So we're gonna do 2 in America. We're also going to do a recipe from Canada and then one in Great Britain to see what, each country was rationing. Were they similar? Was it different? Who knows?
Yeah.
But we'll look into it.
See who had the best recipes for it.
Yeah. Who came up with the best, most innovative recipes to get through wartime?
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
We'll be looking through that, spending a whole month in World War II. So really hope you enjoyed this whole month of hippie culture, and stay tuned for next month because it's gonna be rationing.
All right.
We'll see you then. Bye.
And if you like historical cooking and unusual cookbooks, here's 2 more videos you might enjoy. And make sure to like and subscribe for more foodie adventures.